The other one is domain names. And so you can actually go to the one that I use the most is Namecheap. And Namecheap will, it's got a great search. It's like $9 or something for your domains. They include privacy in the domains, and it's now unlimited privacy. So every year you renew your domain, you get domain privacy with that. So that just means that you're not going to start getting a ton of phone calls, and you're not going to start getting a ton of emails from people that are trying to spam you their services. That's one of the reasons I really like Namecheap, is they include that domain name privacy along with every purchase. And so that's a good one. Looks like we got a chat coming in here. So cool. Yes, Austin Jeremy says, love Namecheap. Yeah, absolutely. I use Namecheap for almost all of my domains. I still have some old ones that are in GoDaddy, but GoDaddy's a lot more expensive. And I believe they may now include privacy in their domains, but they didn't used to. So I kind of shied away from them over time. And so, you can go in here and just start searching for domain names or keywords that are related to the audience that you want to serve or the business model that you want to serve. And so those are important. And then thinking about that business name, kind of what, the domain names that is available will help sometimes craft the course name you're creating or the business name that you want to use. So it's important as you're thinking through those things to do them kind of in tandem, the business name as well as the domain name. And if the domain name is available, that's super awesome. And I've seen a lot of people do this, and it's actually well worth it if you know you have a business idea that in the long run is going to be extremely profitable for you. You can go and buy premium domains, and I see the ClickFunnels team do this quite a bit. If they've got a product idea and the name that they want to use is taken, don't necessarily count that out. There are ways to go to people. A lot of times the domain names are taken, but they're not being used at all. And people would love to offload those for an extra couple $100 or $500 or $1,000. And if you've got a product that you know that, hey, I'm going to be able to turn this $1,000 domain name and turn it around and make a $100,000 course out of it, then that purchase was well worth it. So you don't have to start there, but it's certainly something to just don't say, well, the domain name's not available, and so I guess I won't use that name for the business, because if it's worth it, it's worth it. And so I've spent money to buy premium domains, and I've seen Russell spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy. In fact, for mastermind.com, if you watched that launch at all, the mastermind.com launch, Russell actually has talked about, I believe he paid more than a significant amount of money, let's say hundreds of thousands of dollars for that domain name, just because it's like, this is the perfect fit for what we're trying to accomplish. And it's easy to remember, it's easy to say, it's easy to advertise. So those things are kind of important. And that's actually a really good point. When you're looking at things like domain names, especially if you're going to be doing something like a live webinar to help promote your business and help promote your course, you want that domain name to be something that's easy to say, something that's easy to spell, something that doesn't have a bunch of dashes in it or numbers in it. Or if it has numbers, make sure that you get both the number version and the spelled out number name version. So like if you were going to, have the number 2 in your domain name, make sure you get the one with the numeral 2 and also TWO. That way, when you say it and people type it in, they can actually go to the right place, and you just have one redirect to the kind of primary one. Obviously, and when we do online things, people are going to, most often you're going to actually link to those things. But when you're doing live webinars, a lot of times people, and especially if you're using something like Zoom, like we are today, where it's not super easy to just drop a link on the page where somebody can click the link. They either have to see it visually and type it in. So you want to make sure it's easy to spell, or you have to just say it out. Say, hey, go to clickfunnels.com/go, go to cfprotools.com/go. Then, it needs to be easy to spell and easy to say. And this kind of goes back to old radio days. If you ever, nobody listens to the radio anymore, right? But it used to be, if you were doing radio advertising, you had to make sure that you had a phone number, a business name, a website address that was easy to say and easy to spell, because people couldn't see it. You're on the radio. All they do is hear your voice. So you have to be able to speak it easily, clearly, and it has to be easy to spell. And so that's something to just keep in mind as you're looking at business names, domain names. Make sure that it's simple and easy to spell out. If it's available for $10, that's fantastic, but don't necessarily count it out if it's not. You can start to look at variations of that domain. Say if you wanted to use a business, here's another, and this one goes back a lot of years. It used to be that when domain names really started becoming popular, a lot of the ones that you wanted to use, especially if you were doing things like the old style AdSense websites, where you were going to put up a kind of a content site and run ads on it to generate revenue. A lot of those names were already taken. You've got a niche like gardening. So it's like, you're not going to get gardening.com, but if you could go in and you could get, gardeninghq.com, that's easy, still easy to say, easy to spell, and it has the keyword gardening in it. So it was super easy to buy. So you might look at, something like, gogardening.com or getgardening.com or gardeninghq.com. So if your topic is, funnels, then you could, come in and say, yoga funnels. Say you're going to, create a course on teaching yoga instructors or yoga studios how to make more money by having a funnel attached to their yoga studio. Either to sell courses, sell DVDs, or sell people into coming in and getting an annual membership. Then you're okay. So I'm going to teach people how to build funnels related to the yoga space. Then you might look at yoga funnels, yogafunnels.com. In fact, let's just look and see if it's available. If it is, we'll just go ahead and buy it. It's probably not, but you never know. So we'll look at Namecheap here and see what it says. Yes, it is taken. So then the other thing you can do is say, okay, well, let me just go to it, and hopefully it's not something inappropriate. But yeah, so yogafunnels.com, there's nothing here yet. So it's possible that you could reach out to this person. Sometimes and what you can do is do a who is search. And let's see if Namecheap, I usually use GoDaddy for the who is, but let's see if it's actually on Namecheap as well. Who is lookup. Okay, so if you're looking up a domain and you're just like, hey, somebody purchased this, I'd kind of like to figure out who has it. Sometimes you can get some data around from the who is lookup. So if you scroll down to the bottom of Namecheap, this is also in GoDaddy. Pretty much every domain name registrar that registers domain names will give you this sort of tool, this who is lookup. And what this is a way to go in and say, hey, there's a domain name I'm interested in, figure out where it's being used, how it's being used, who owns it, and I need to be able to contact them. So you can type in yogafunnels.com and do a lookup. It's probably going to come up and ask me to either log in or no, it goes right away. So it must know that I'm not. So it's registered at GoDaddy. So we can see here, okay, so the domain name is Yoga Funnels. Here's the domain ID is registrar, the who is registrar, which kind of tells the rest of the world who holds this data. Who is the source of this data. So GoDaddy is the source. It was registered at GoDaddy. It was registered in 2016. So it's been around a while. And so they've always have to have an abuse contact email address. So this is if you were, if somebody were to claim, hey, I own this trademark or something like that, then you'd be able to reach out to them at that address. You can see the status of the domain. Hey, you can't transfer it, can't update it, can't renew it, can't delete it. Those things are all prohibited. It doesn't show an organization here. It shows you where it was registered in California, but this is probably GoDaddy's information. So select domain holder link at, okay, so you can actually go, so they give you some details on where to get the registered email. And so we could probably open that up and see what's going to happen. It's probably going to come in and yep, want to make sure you're not a robot, so they're not spamming. And then here we've got a little bit more detail. Okay, so here we go. Oh, actually, this is somebody in our ClickFunnels group. I know this guy. And so you can kind of see, okay, so fitbusinessfinance.com. Okay, Raphael. So we get an email address. We've got an address. We probably have, yep, we've got a phone number. So you could reach out to this person if you really wanted this domain. You could reach out to this person and say, hey, I noticed you have this domain. It doesn't look like it's currently being used. Would you have any interest in selling it? And reach out to them and find out. You never know. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, I meant to do this something with it and I never did. It's costing me $20 a year to keep it updated, especially if it's a GoDaddy. And it's costing me $20 a year to keep it updated. Sure, I'd be happy to get it. Some people go crazy and like, oh yeah, I want $100,000 for it. And you'd be like, dude, you're not even using it. I don't think so. I'll just call it yogafunnelshq.com and we'll move on. But some will be like, yeah, a couple $100 and I'd be happy to let it go because then it's more money in my pocket. So something to always kind of keep in mind. And same thing, it's like, okay, Yoga Funnels is taken. So, maybe we call it getyogafunnels.com. That one's available. Okay, boom. Now all we added is a little bit to it. It's just as easy to spell, just as easy to say, and it's a little bit of a variation. And it's available for $10 a year.